I'm SP from Better Podcasting, a show dedicated to help make your podcast better. And it is part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other insightful and wonderful geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Hey guys, Josh here. Welcome back to the show. Just a quick follow-up to our last episode where I covered and maybe slightly roasted Rolling Stone's top 10 best Buffy episodes ever. I did get asked online as soon as I posted that, okay, Josh, these are your favorite episodes or the ones you think are the best. What are the worst? What's your worst episodes list? And honestly, I've never really done a podcast where I've covered the worst of something, unless it was perhaps rock and roll albums from the early 90s from bands like Creed, because their album covers were so bad that I had to put out an episode. But on this particular show, I don't think I've ever gone worst or taken that perspective. So this isn't clickbait. This is a question I was asked directly by several people, including my younger brother Cam, who was the person I watched the first 3 seasons of Buffy with every week. And essentially, it was the only 60-minute period of the week where we weren't driving each other completely cracked. So it actually holds a special place in my heart as a show because it was the only thing that really my brother and I fully got along with. We just sat there and watched it out of respect for the show and, by extension, actually for each other. So once again, yeah, this isn't clickbait, and I probably wouldn't even be covering this particular topic today if I wasn't asked directly. So I'm going to go back to Rolling Stone again just to keep the reference consistent. This is a different list. This is their comprehensive list from 2023 of worst Buffy episodes, ranked all the way to best. So I'm going to quickly go through their bottom 10, 12, 13 episodes, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of issues that I have with this list. And this time, unlike last time, I actually have looked at this because I wanted to kind of put any emotion aside about how wrong I think they may or may not be. So if for no other reason, I can keep this show clean and family friendly, which, being a stand-up comedian, isn't always my first response when I disagree with something. So here's their list. I'll include the actual season and episode numbers for each of these in the show notes. I just don't want to have to read those out and waste your time. So episode 144, Where the Wild Things Are. 143, The Killer in Me. 142, Beer Bad. 141, Older and Far Away. 140, Teacher's Pet. 139, Reptile Boy. 138, Killed by Death. 137, All the Way. 136, Empty Places. 135, Entropy. And 134, Bad Eggs. So once again, that was the bottom 10 on Rolling Stone's list of worst Buffy episodes, worst to best. That was 144 down to 134. Righto. So I'll include their list quickly in the show notes as well, so you can follow that as I go through my list. So let's cover off on the episodes that we agree with. And mine is in no particular order. I'm just going to reference their list. Beer Bad, arguably the worst episode. That has to be in the bottom 10. Where the Wild Things Are, probably the next worst episode, so that has to be in there as well. They're nailing it so far. I would include Inca Mummy Girl in that bottom 10. Teacher's Pet has to be there. It's a god-awful episode. Old and Far Away, I'd forgotten about that episode until I read the list. That's pretty bad, but it wouldn't instantly have come to me as one of the worst. It was more just forgettable. Reptile Boy, Season 2, horrible. I would also have included I, Robot, You, Jane in that bottom 10 or 12 episodes. Never Kill a Boy on a First Date, that also should have been in there. And the episode Bad Eggs, I agree with. So I'm going to talk about 2 things. One, that they had empty places in the bottom 10 episodes. That is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. The scene with Buffy and Spike in the bedroom of the abandoned house alone is better than any scene in all of these episodes we've talked about and a lot of other episodes of the show. That scene and the line, "You're one hell of a woman," from Spike, that still hits me the way it did when I first saw it, maybe even more. I watched it literally yesterday, and Sarah Michelle Gellar and James Masters are incredible in that scene. It's deep, it's emotional, there's a hint of awkwardness in there as well, that still things are being left unsaid that should have been said or could be said. Having Empty Places in the bottom 10, considering how pivotal that is as it leads into episode 20, 21, and 22, having it in the bottom 10, outrageous. And I've got to admit, other than that, the list is pretty strong from Rolling Stone, so I'm not going to spend too much longer today, but I just quickly wanted to cover an episode that I found the most disappointing, and I might even say in a lot of ways that's actually worse than an episode like Where the Wild Things Are or Beer Bad. And that's Season 5, Episode 10, Into the Woods. This is the episode where Riley leaves the show, gets on a chopper and gets out of there. So you might be thinking, I don't remember that episode being that bad. That's the whole point, guys. A core character leaving the show and that relationship dissolving and impacting directly our main core character, and the majority of the audience, I'm thinking, probably felt how I did about it, particularly when I rewatched the show. All right, next. That's done. I had no reaction to a major breakup in the show, which I've never had in any other substantial relationship issue, let alone breakup or breakdown on Buffy. It was so inconsequential when it should have been consequential. Into the Woods was the episode, more so than any other episode, that underachieved for what it set out to achieve. So, Beer Bad is just a terrible concept. And Where the Wild Things Are was just bounded within, this is all a bit icky and weird. But Into the Woods did nothing that it set out to achieve at the level that it should have, considering how well Buffy as a show nails those moments where you're meant to care, whether you want to or not, whether you like the character or not, whether you wanted them to be together long term or not. There's no other pivotal relationship in Buffy that dissolves and is so inconsequential. Righto, guys, I'll leave it there today. Everything's in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to the show, for supporting the show, for giving me feedback about these recent Buffy episodes. Obviously, we are going to get back to our documentary-style fan campaign episodes here in the near future, but thank you so much for sticking with this more fun stuff and giving me some direct feedback. I really appreciate that. It's what keeps me going, I guess, more than anything. And one last thank you to Stephen, John Drew, and the Gunna Geek crew. Really excited about building things bigger and better in 2025 and having all you guys as the audience along with us. Righto, check out gunnageek.com, check out jkldigital.org as well to say hello to me. Guys, I can't wait to speak with you again, and bye for now.